Let's get started!
Hey little person, what are you doing?
針がてっぺんの時
Oh, that's very nice.
調べ物の定番ファッション。なんでこのお仕事を選びましたか？
A new invention, you say?
次男にお前はバカだから風邪ひかないって言われた。
Okay, I'm gonna start the rant now.
Oh my god. How could this happen?
Okay, here we go. MHA chapter 403. It's got over the top reaction shots. Handyman barely getting any screen time as usual. And Lord Explosion Murder returning back into the scene after being dead for so long. Anyways, do take note that this video will not be a full recap. We are just gonna be ranting about things that don't make sense. But before we start, let me say a little something. So about the previous chapter. So I just noticed something about these people hanging around over here at the very edge of the floating fortress. How are they just fine and not getting burned up despite sitting right next to these massive house-sized thrusters? Shouldn't it be really hot over there? Which is even amplified considering the air trampoline could also be redirecting hot air upwards. So how are they just okay? Are they fireproof? Did they drink potions of fire resistance beforehand? Or is the UA building giving them some sort of divine protection? Nah, whatever, let's just start with the rant. Okay, so about chapter 403. This chapter is pretty much all about the Lord Explosion Murder. Specifically about his super duper big glowy return from the land of the dead. It's even got an entire build up, some symbolism, the Superman card, everything. In fact, this chapter's so dedicated just for the Lord Explosion Murder's very heroic return. They're just looking away from him a bit and checking out the rest of the scenes. It's quite easily noticeable that over a half of the chapter doesn't really make any solid sense, and therefore giving us some stuff to rant about. Take these jets for example. So over here we finally got confirmation that the American jets are really just flying around the floating fortress this whole time. This of course raises some questions. Why are they just flying around over here this whole time? Why didn't they fly over to help Superman earlier considering they are just relatively close by? Why didn't the heroes ever think about requesting their raid all this time seeing as they are just doing nothing anyways? And also, why didn't they help out with the floating fortress clone issue? There are areas where there are clearly no more heroes left. Why didn't they fire some lasers there? And furthermore, how come the jets are so serious and desperate at taking down Mr. Demon Lord over here to the point where they don't care about friendly fire anymore? Yet are completely fine with ignoring Handyman after he got out of the floating fortress. Isn't Handyman supposed to be the deadliest villain of all time and much worse than Mr. Demon Lord? So why did the jets not even think once about laser blasting him? Why blast Mr. Demon Lord ASAP, yet completely ignore Handyman? But well, to be fair, the jets aren't the only ones ignoring Handyman anyways. Aside from the one idiot who wants to talk no jutsu him. Literally every single person in the entire floating fortress area, including the entire f***ing world, are ignoring Handyman as well. For some reason. Anyways, we're not done yet. Here's yet another jet related stuff for me to rant about. The jets going kaboom.
Kaboom?
Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
Yeah. Even though the jets are initially shown having long-range laser cannons, not to mention being agile enough to easily evade huge area defense attacks, they are now somehow so nerfed and so bad that all it takes is just one swipe of Mr. Demon Lord's baby arms and they all go down in flames. No more fancy evasion maneuvers and laser fights. The jets just straight up dove in and died, kamikaze style. So yeah, there are no more jets. It's the end of them. But still, their sudden destruction raises one last question. Why are the jets just mostly ignored by the plot all throughout the final battle, only to suddenly die in a very rushed way? The best I can answer this question is that the jets are mostly ignored by the plot because they are too ridiculously overpowered despite being nameless characters. Just think about it. If Mr. Demon Lord got easily roasted by prominence burn, and got even more younger and younger by simple acid injections and makeshift electric beam cannons, Then imagine what multiple military grade laser cannons can do to him. The guy would get absolutely f***ing vaporized within seconds. And since obviously the pseudo final boss shouldn't die to just nameless props, the creator kept preventing them from doing anything. Until he got sick and tired of their overpowered presence that he just simply took them out of the story altogether in a very rushed and nonsensical manner. That's it. Okay, now let's move on to some other stuff I can talk about in this chapter. Now this next rant topic's just gonna be a short one. I'd just like to point out that Superman's neck somehow did not get snapped when Mr. Demon Lord went supersonic for a bit to go punch some planes. Is this because of blood curdle making him hard and stiff and his neck not easily snapped? Is that it? Maybe? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'll just stick to my blood curdle theory. Mostly because saying Superman resisted neck snapping by being hard as hell is f***ing funny. Okay. Now let's move on to the last batch of randible stuffs in this chapter. The over-the-top hopeless panels. I swear these panels got to be the silliest part of the chapter. You can tell the creator only made these to make everything so hopeless so that Lord Explosion Murder's entrance could look very badass. But since Mr. Demon Lord is just nothing but a massive incompetent idiot who simply goes to do what the plot tells him to do, not to mention completely unable to kill a single f***ing hero and is easily distracted by literal f***ing buildings, everything just looks so forced and unnatural and over the top. It's honestly kinda awkward and funny at the same time. Yeah, there's just nothing serious to be afraid about. We, as readers, know Mr. Demon Lord would never be able to kill Superman because the plot simply won't let him. I mean, just look at how he's just casually holding Superman over here instead of just blasting off big attacks at him like earlier. If anything, it's just making the hopeless panels ironically even more sillier. Also, before we end, I'd like to point out that Jetstream is still alive.
I thought you were dead.
My death was greatly exaggerated. So,
Okay. Rant over. Overall, chapter 403. Rant jokes and silliness aside, I'm glad that the art qualities finally returned to normal. This hopefully means that whatever issues the creator faced that caused the wonky artwork in the past few chapters are now finally gone. Hopefully. Okay, the rant's over. Hey there, little person. Are you finally done with your invention?
次は職場の雰囲気はどんなですか？
Okay, let's see what it can do.
よろしくお願いします。
It's a bubble blowing machine.
手術室と違う。普通の部屋みたい。脳みそ改造マシンどこ？もう大体終わった。あとは来た。
It's a bubble blowing machine that explodes after one bubble. That's a very amazing invention you got there, little person.
That's great!
Little person, you're destined for greatness.
Okay, I'm ending the video now.